They thought flipping was easy until this one mistake wiped them out. Everyone wants the big before and after moment, but no one talks about the sleepless nights wondering if you'll even break even. So I'm gonna give you 5 takeaways today that you will want to avoid if you wanna make money on your first flip. Most people don't know that on your first flip, there's about a 80 to 95% chance that you're not gonna make any money and then you're gonna be in the negative on that flip. You can listen to podcasts, you can listen to people that are on like Bigger Pockets or anyone. You'll hear that most people say they didn't either do their first deal for the first 2 years when they got into real estate, or they lost money on their first deal. I've done this with countless clients because, as you know, I'm a lender. So I'm gonna give you a story today of a person who is one of my clients who came to me with 800 credit score, $50,000 in the bank to do a house for her first time. She thought she was gonna hit a home run and she didn't. And I'm gonna tell you why. So the 5 takeaways that I'm gonna give you are gonna equip you to not make the same mistakes that she did and end up in bankruptcy, and how to make money on your first flip. If you're watching this, that means you either wanna become a flipper for the first time, you watch HGTV thinking that that's real and it's not, or you might have been flipping with somebody else and now you wanna do your own thing. The first takeaway that I will say is you don't wanna get over leveraged. A lot of times when you're a flipper and you watch these TV shows, you see it, or you might have heard about this type of loan or different things like that. It's not as easy as you think. But when you get into flipping and you have a product like what we offer, a couple weeks ago, I talked about our 100% financing product. That is a great product, and we kind of offer it to people who have no experience. They have really high credit scores. I'll give you the reason behind that in a second. But we like to focus on people with this particular product if they have at least 3 flips that they've done. Simply because if you don't have experience, you might be like, oh man, it's 100% financing. You might have the tendency to want to get over leveraged because you don't know that just because you might have $50,000 in the bank and a good credit score, that it's going to be easy peasy. No, a lot of times on your first flip, and even not even on your first, almost every time you do a flip, you're going to be over budget by like 5 to 10%. That's just a rule of thumb. And if you're not, then maybe you're just really good. You got a really solid team. But even then, you can't account for going into the house because you basically do a general inspection. Or if you know you're going to flip a house, you do an inspection. You might not even go and, do all the due diligence that you should to know that behind the wall, there's termites or the foundation is messed up. Right? Because you like, okay, well, this house got a lot of equity in it. I can flip it. I know it's gonna, cost a certain amount of money, but you don't realize that, doing termite or foundation repair is gonna set you back maybe $10,000 to $15,000 depending on how bad the foundation is. So your money gets wiped out even on a program where you might get 100% financing on a purchase and a rehab, because you might do a rehab budget of $35,000, but now that you got to replace the foundation, that could be anywhere between $15,000 to $25,000. I just sold a house maybe like in November of last year, and the rehab budget was initially $45,000. But then the foundation alone was $35,000. So you can see how what I'm saying is you just never know about the surprises, but that's the stuff that you just learn as you've done more and more flips. There was a workaround that I did to get past that foundation thing, but I have the experience to know how to do that. But if you don't know that, you're gonna spend that $35,000 and now you're over budget, 35 G's. But anyway, over leveraging is a silent killer for almost anyone that's in real estate. So we have a program that I just mentioned, 100% financing, but we also have a program where you can put 10% down to buy the property. So you get 10% down, which allows you to get the house and the money for the rehab. So for example, if there's a house that's $245,000 at the repair value and it only costs you $100,000 to buy it and the rehab is only $35,000, you can get that property for 10 grand. So you got a loan for $135,000 to be able to go out and buy a property that's worth $245,000 when you get it done. And here you are with 50 grand in the bank. You're like, oh man, I only got to put 10 grand down. That leaves me with $40,000. Yeah, it could. But what happens if you run into a scenario like that I just mentioned? But here you are, you put down $10,000 to get the first house. And you're like, okay, this is going great. Just say you miraculously, you got a good contractor and it's going great up front. And then you go out and get a second house because now you found another house within 30 days that you want to go out and get. You put another 10 grand down. You know what I mean? Because the purchase prices are almost the same. So now you're down 30 grand. Now you got both of these projects running and you got 30 grand. And now you found out that the foundation is bad in one of the houses and it costs you $25,000. So now you're going to go over budget on that one particular property. That leaves you with I think I said $5,000 left now. So now what happens if you find out that this property has termites and that the AC went out? And so now you got to buy a new HVAC and you got a termite inspection and do all that stuff that goes along with termites for the second house. Now that costs you 10 grand. So now you negative $5,000. And now you got both of these houses. So now keep in mind, yeah, you got the rehab budget that's there, but that is, so when people don't know, when you're doing a program like that I just mentioned, you don't just get the $45,000 up front or the $35,000 up front for the rehab. It's a reimbursement program. So you have to start the project first. And so you gotta, give the person the money for the materials. They gotta start the work. So you don't just get that money. So you gotta have that in advance. A lot of times with new investors, when they run across a product like what we offer, if we underwrite the house and the deal is good, it has a lot of equity, we're not gonna necessarily dive deep into how you're gonna run that project. We might ask for the scope of work to see if you know what you're doing and determine the value after repair, but based on what you say the scope of work is. But we're not gonna say this is how you need to run your rehab project with your contractor. So if it's your first time, you don't have any experience, and you run out there and do what I just said, yeah, now you're over leveraged because now you have two houses and you didn't allocate the funds the right way because you didn't foresee the foundation. You didn't foresee the termites. You didn't foresee the HVAC going out. And so that goes back to what I just said. Most of these programs are reimbursement programs. So you're gonna need extra cash, even if you say, for instance, I'll give you an example of the scope of work. Say, for instance, on your scope of work, you have the kitchen is $5,000. You gotta put up the money to get the materials for the laborers to do the kitchen. After that, you say, hey, I'm done with the kitchen. We send out an inspector. The inspector goes to inspect to make sure that the kitchen is done. Within 24 hours, we give you the $5,000 back. But you needed the money up front to be able to get that kitchen done, at least by the materials. So if you're doing this on two different houses, and say, for instance, you just thought that the cabinets were gonna be a certain amount, and then the cabinets are out of stock, or maybe the cabinets cost more than you think, or then you have to get, or maybe the garbage disposal went out, or whatever the case is, you can just see how different things will come up that's gonna put you over that $5,000 budget that you thought you had allocated for the kitchen. So you can kind of see how someone can get over leveraged and why it could be the silent killer, because now you have two projects over leveraged and now you're trying to keep them going. And this is what happens with almost anyone who hops into real estate for the first time. Or I told you I was gonna tell you about a scenario with one of my clients. She found a property. It cost her $200,000 to buy the property. The after repair value was $400,000 because she had two land plots and it was a really nice house. So her thought process, which made sense, I even went through it with her, buy the house because you get, for $200,000, you get, I think it was like 2 acres or acre and a half. So you buy the house, and the part that has the house on it, you fix it up. And then you go to the county, you do a parcel split. And so now you have a land parcel over here that you could do new construction on, or even sell that land plot. And then you have the house with the land that you can fix up this house and sell it. So she got a good deal. So that house alone would have been worth, I think it was like $450. And then if she separated the land plot, she could have sold that land plot for like 90 grand. So here she goes. She had 50 grand in the bank. She had an 800 credit score. A lot of times when you're a new investor, you run across contractors who like, okay, this person's brand new. We're going to tell them that we need $10,000 up front. This happened to me in 3 different markets. It happened to me in Georgia, South Carolina, and Vegas. You would think that I caught on to it, but what happened? I found a deal because I found the deal in South Carolina that I only had to put down like, I think it was like 10 grand. And then I found another deal in Vegas, which was a little bit more expensive. The house was worth $550,000 and the purchase price was $340. So then I had to put down, I think 40 grand to get that house. With closing costs and all of that stuff, it was 40 grand. So I got both of these simultaneously. I got the one going in South Carolina where I gave the contractor 10 grand. And then 10 days later, I closed on the one in Vegas, and that person asked for the 10 grand too. Little did I know that when this project started, the guy in South Carolina did the demo, and then I think he did partial, like, was it the bathroom? Did some partial work on the bathroom, and then he disappeared. 10 grand gone. And so for the same thing happened with the deal in Vegas. Gave the guy 10 grand. I think he did the demo in the house. He took up the carpet. I think he started in the master bedroom, did some work in the backyard, gone. So that was another 10 grand gone. So you think, okay, well, why don't you go sue him? I think small claims court, I think the minimum was like 16 grand. So it didn't even make sense for me to try to go after the person because it was gonna cost me more, or I didn't even have enough to even get in small claims court with the 10 grand. So I didn't even have enough. So it was a wash on both of those. But anyway, back to the story with the girl. So that same thing happened to her. It was her first time investing. She gave the people 10 grand. They came through and did a little bit of the demo work, and then they took off. Her initial cost, like I just told you, it was $200,000 house. She had good credit, so she was able to do 10% down. So 10% down, which 20 grand, plus her closing costs, I think it ended up taking her up to $29,000 for her to close. And she only had $49,000. She gave the guy 10 grand to get started. That left her with 10 grand, right? So now she's 39 grand out the jump. She gave the person 10 grand to start the project, and then she put up $29,000 for closing costs. So now she only has 10 grand. So now the person skated off. They only did demo. I think she only had like $1,500 for her demo. And so when she called to do an inspection to get the demo money back, she only got $1,500. That's not a lot based on the scenario that I just gave you about you being able to get back a certain amount based on what you're doing for the reimbursement. So now she only had 10 grand left. So then she got a new crew that came in and they were like, hey, well, we need materials to get started. And then we need a little bit of money for labor. So then she went out and bought the materials. That only covered a certain portion. And then she had to give them some money for laborers to get going. So here she is back to this again. So then they didn't run off on her, but they needed more money because once they got into the project, they saw that other things needed more money, basically, just to sum it up. So here she is now, over leveraged. Now she's tapping into her credit cards. So bottom line, she had to end up going through like 3 or 4 contractors because at some point in time, the second contractor was going slow on the job. They were slow pacing her. So then she tried to get a new contractor. So then that new contractor came in and asked for more money. So then when she got the third contractor, they were doing pretty good, but then somebody broke in the house. So now the money that she had, the $50,000 that she had that she thought was enough to get her going, now it's gone. Person broke in the house, destroyed almost everything that she did because the new crew that came in and got her to a good place. So she did a draw, but the draw that she did to get the money back for what the new crew had did, I think they did the flooring, they did the bathroom, they did the kitchen. That money she had to take and pay down her credit cards, right? So then she needed some more money after they broke into the house and tore up the entire house. So now she had to get a whole nother or that same crew to come in and try to undo what these people had did. So she ended up, bottom line, she went bankrupt. She came to me later on in the process and told me that she ran out of money. Her credit had got bad because she over leveraged herself with getting materials and all of that stuff, doing cash advances to pay the third crew after they broke in. So she ended up losing the house. She ended up going into bankruptcy.